Rumble. Here we go. Well, let's see what's going on. Hope the audio is not too bad. I'm just going to stay on here for a couple minutes, but we are now live on Rumble. Just wanted to show people that. So we know YouTube is YouTube, and we have some issues there, but not with this channel specifically. But I just wanted to kind of jump in. I was hoping to do some video here too, still working that out, but we'll see. Maybe in the future we'll do some stuff. But did want to let people know a few things here. I mean, what a crazy week. What a crazy week. That's all that I can say about that. There's so much happening. And as you can see, we've gotten some of the day one journal stuff. So what happened was the other day, a new member named Tony Floyd joined the group and posted this article, and then posted some photos too. And I'm kind of looking through some of that, and it seemed pretty interesting stuff. So this is, let's see, the article, the website, crowleyfamilydeaths.neocities.org. So I went there and started looking at what was being posted. What this was really wasn't a whole lot of context to it, but as you can see, it says file dump of public records as people like to play games and get territorial. I don't support your cause. So that's where all of this began. And this happened yesterday. Started looking through this stuff, and boy, there is just a lot of that. Talk about a data dump. That's accurate. So the gun photo was the first thing that shows up here. You can see where that gun is. It's a little white thing here with the gun that is still bothersome, but then some other strange things about that. And then a lot of stuff, a lot of this we're going to cover this on Friday night, hopefully. But there is just a lot of data here, a lot of stuff to go through. But it was the day one journal that really got me, just going through it and staying focused on that. And there's a lot of stuff there in that day one journal. So because we are now on Rumble, what I'm doing is I'm uploading a lot of the videos. I'm going to upload new videos first to our new Rumble channel. So I wanted to let everybody here on YouTube know that. And so I believe the link is just rumble.com/ and then you go to the Gray Stage. Also, what I did is on the WordPress site, on the graystage.wordpress.com, I'll be adding the day one journal there. But I just posted something if people just want to kind of quickly follow what's going on. And so yeah, so you can see rumble.com/user/the Gray Stage. That's how you can get to the new Rumble channel. And I'm going to be posting new stuff there first. It'll all show up here on YouTube as well, but we're going to post stuff on Rumble first, especially with the day one journal stuff. And there's a lot of stuff to go through. So that's where you're going to be able to find all of the new day one journal posts that I do. So please make sure that you check that out whenever you can. And this article will hopefully make it easy for you, where you can just go to, you see I have one up, I see two. Pretty, oh boy, I mean, just, this one is only about, 2 minutes, 3 minutes or so. Then I have another one that I'm about ready to post. from David Crowley's Day One Journal called Dysfunctional Relationships. This one is longer, I believe. I'm just going to refresh this to see if this will show here. And for those of you who don't like Rumble or don't want to get on Rumble, I will be posting everything here. But I just wanted to jump in here live right now while I had a little time to just kind of let you know what is going to happen on Friday night right here on this YouTube channel. We are going to discuss the article, the Crowley case, the Endgame. And again, if you want to go and check that out right now, you can do that. Go to crowleyfamilydeaths.neocities.org. Based on what the person said, what Tony Floyd said, it sounds like he says, I don't support your cause. I don't know if he's talking about the group or if he's talking about the people that are playing games and that get territorial with some of this data. But what kind of bothers me is obviously the fact that there's a lot of data that we've been trying to get and have not been able to get. And here we are, we have some of that data here. So we'll be covering that more in depth this Friday. But I just wanted to let people know that if you do want to look at some of the new videos that I'm going to be posting, they will be on Rumble. So if you're on Rumble searching for channels, just search for The Gray Stage. And I will make sure to post these videos, post the link into the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group. And of course, I'll be adding the Rumble page to the Rumble channel. These are channels on Rumble. I will be adding the Rumble channel to the descriptions here. So, but one that I'm about to post next will be Dysfunctional Relationships, going over some of what is in David Crowley's Day One Journal, where he talks about the dysfunctional relationships. A lot of that with the Gray State goons, or these goons that thought they were David Crowley's friends, and it seems like a lot of them David Crowley did not consider friends, and he did not consider them to be honest, good people. They were people that were latching onto him. And there are some specific quotes in the Day One Journal where he calls people out, people like Sean Wright, people like Joseph Seaton. And so you'll be able, you can read all that. We're going to download this stuff, and we're going to have this so that people can download the Day One Journal and all of that. And, kind of read it for yourself and decide for yourself what you think. But what I've done is just kind of give you some of my thoughts on this stuff, on some of the posts that David Crowley had in the Day One Journal. I don't know if this one is actually, this one is about 19 minutes here, and it just kind of goes through some of that stuff with the Day One Journal. So this one may have been mislabeled, but anyways, still working it out, still figuring out all of this stuff here. So there's the Day One Journal.
This is the
and
billionaire
then we're going to get
meetings in
into the
Austin
dysfunctional
and
relationships. So that video just put up. I'm going to share it to the group, to the Gray Stage page. Just wanted to let everybody know that here. So if you do want to keep up with the case and you don't want to wait till it gets posted to YouTube, you can always just go directly to the new Rumble channel, The Gray Stage. We're going to post all of our new stuff there. So far, I'm liking Rumble. Haven't really had any problems with it. Let's see the quality. So I have to adjust the quality here just to kind of play it. That's all right. And I know the audio that you're probably hearing is coming directly from my computer right now as I'm speaking, so it may not be the best. I will be working on that too. I was trying to figure out some of these live streams. Rumble's live stream is kind of wanky because they want you to spend $25 per month for just to go live. So I don't know about that. We may just stick to YouTube with going live and everything, but we'll see. You never know. So far, YouTube has not really given the Gray Stage channel any grief or anything like that. Haven't had any problems. We get spammers and stuff like that. People who post, spam just because they're losers, and that's what losers do. You can't stop losers from doing that. That's their freedom if they want to do that. YouTube seems to have no problem with that, but actually, in the last couple of days, YouTube has been really good about blocking that stuff before it even gets through. So that's pretty cool. I can't fault them for that, but so there is just a lot of data, and there is a data dump, as you can clearly see here. The latest video that I did on YouTube, 13 minutes, covering all this stuff. I've only watched it once. I really, don't really have any interest in kind of looking at it anymore. I know that I have to. I know that I'm going to. But man, it was tough. It was tough to watch. So even though the video, the first part of this is just a video and everything is kind of blurred out, it is still hard to watch. It really is. So I don't know. You have to be the judge of that. But the video also shows, these clips, everything here does just add more to it. All we wanted was, and I asked Detective Gummert, we just wanted a photo that showed where the gun was, so I could get a good understanding of how the gun was found. That's it. It was a simple thing. I was basically told the public was not going to get it, but obviously someone from the public got it, unless they... I don't understand why it's like only certain people can get it, but not us. I mean, we're the ones asking questions, right? So if the people that are asking questions can't get it, the ones who just want to act like David Crowley is guilty, even though they know he's not guilty, and they know that they can never prove that he's guilty, somehow they end up with this photo here? That's pretty shady, I think. So I don't know what Gummert's logic was on that, or if he even knows that this photo is even out there, but it's out there. It's out there, and it's published. It's been published, so you'll be able to look at this, read the article, decide for yourself whatever you think. But this is all I wanted. I just wanted to see where the gun landed. Where the gun landed. Now, this little, like we were talking about before, this little metal piece or whatever this is right here, it's kind of weird. I don't know what that's all about, but if this is a real photo of the real gun, which we're going to need Detective Gummert or the Apple Valley Police Department to verify that this is a real photo, not an altered photo, a doctored photo. If it is a real photo, this is what I wanted to see. Where did the gun land? And there you go. So we were told it was more down by the knee here, down by here. But you can see in this photo where the gun is right there. So you will have to decide that for yourself, people. I'm just going to try to well, I guess it doesn't matter because you can't see or you can't hear anything. There's no audio for this one here as well, but obviously you can go check those out. But if you do want to watch this one, I don't know if the audio's one.
So here he writes on August 5th, 2014, BX stuff to the garage, Gray State swag tubes off to billionaire meetings in Austin, out in the mail with the eBay sales, and furniture and knock-knacks and paddywhacks, all on a steady march to order.
Test 1, 2.
Much of that all week. Al wanted to bring Suze and their little bitch, Lucy. The dog doesn't seem to like me, and I know Paleo will have my back. We deflected that too, but holy moly, the enemy is at the gates. Pretty interesting stuff there, just with that one quote. Because Al is his sister, Allison. Suze is Allison's girlfriend, and then their dog. And I believe this is kind of because a few days from now is going to be Ranya's birthday party. So it's kind of like they were trying to quote unquote deflect them coming, but we know that in the end, at least Al and Suze are both there at Ranya's birthday party. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So there's a lot of good, interesting quotes here from David's Day One Journal from August 5th. And here is another one, a big one. Tuesday, August 5th, 2014 at 7:58 p.m. So much happening. I can find the energy to write about it this week. Final prep for the 10th, which is Ronnie's birthday party, and sort of our unveiling from the distance everyone has perceived in us. We have been met with challenges of vampiric energy demand from dysfunctional relationships, friends, family. Everybody wants something. Everybody needling in. Trevor on text. Adam shows up here, imagining that only he can save me from the hole he imagines me in, using obvious emotional manipulation tactics. Telling me with a dopey smile painted beneath a hipster new haircut that he can't wait to lay back stripes up and down his Audi with a rattle can while his girl abandons him for LA. And he waits for me to go so he can latch on too. My God. But to disappear for a moment into a new crowd completely. So when I first read this, I thought he was talking about his lawyer, Adam Gislason. But now I think he's talking about Adam Shambauer here, possibly here. So, but again, you know, he's this distance that everyone has perceived in him, the dysfunctional relationships, not only with family, but with friends, quote unquote friends. We have been met with challenges of vampiric energy demands. I mean, these are very, very harsh words. Everybody wants something, everybody needling in. And but the thing about Adam is just really, really odd. So I was like, wow, I'm surprised he's talking about his lawyer like that. But this could very well be him talking about Adam Shambauer. Maybe Adam's girlfriend left him. Pretty weird. But in the end, David just wants to get away from all of this. So, but Adam is in LA, and that would make sense because Adam Shambauer is in LA. I don't know where Adam Gislason is. Shouldn't be hard to find out since we have those documents, but thought that was a pretty interesting quote there from August 5th, 2014 at 7:58 p.m. Here he also writes about Sean. He says, Sean plagues me with vague texts. You there? And every time I know it will be a warning that he has been kicked out by his girlfriend and is expecting my door to be wide open. God, he showed up at my house with his kid and the little dog too, no doubt. Uninvited, only one of those tactfully ignored warning texts. Shows up here to live. Jesus. So that gives you a little insight about David's view on Sean Wright and some of the problems Sean Wright is having in his own personal life, and going to David for help, for a place to live, for getting kicked out. Oh boy, pretty interesting there. Not good. And here's another interesting one from the same day, from August 5th. And let's see, let me know what you think about this one. He writes, anyways, Kamel has been battered and bruised by a series of lessons. Not a very stable person. Not a very stable person. I think, I mean, we already knew that about Sean Wright. I'm just pausing here for a second. But he's a felon. He's a felon here. So anyone who would be a part of a group that he's in is pretty weird to me. I mean, and at the same time, we hear all the stuff about David Crowley being a domestic abuser, when that's what that's what Sean Wright is. So I don't get it. I really don't get it. There's a lot of doublespeak when it comes to people in this case, when, you know, and all of this should have just been about David Crowley, what proves him innocent, what proves him guilty. Instead, we have a bunch of weird, dysfunctional people who have made it about them, who have really made it about us. You know, it's always attacking us. It's never really just, you know, saying, okay, hey, man, here's what proves David Crowley guilty. So I'm very curious about that, because there's the games that are being played are pretty odd. So
Hey, Catherine. Yeah, Catherine says, I agree. I think it's Schambauer or however his name is spelled. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, usually when Adam Gislason is mentioned, when the lawyer is mentioned, he usually puts his last name. Not every time, but most of the time. So, hey, Little Bear, good to see you here. Little Bear, I know you had a comment, and I think YouTube hid the comment or something. I can't find it. I can't see it. I did receive a notification on it. So I just wanted to let you know that I did not remove any comments. I don't remove any people's comments, but for some reason, YouTube just does whatever it wants. So that's another reason why we're kind of moving away from YouTube. If there was a way to do live stream, something like this on Rumble, I'd be all for it. So I'm looking into that next. Catherine also says it's an Adam that is looking to go to LA, or his girlfriend let him already for LA. Yeah. His girlfriend already went to LA and he's going to follow her there, but she left him. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on there. So whatever Adam it is, he's got some dysfunctionality in his life too. But hey, don't we all? Don't we all have some of that? So, but it's like, if you guys are going to try to call out David Crowley and then try to call out us, man, don't be surprised when the facts show your dysfunctionality. And David Crowley's journal shows a lot of that. It shows all these people that he surrounded him with, how dysfunctional they really were. They need a real job, I think. It's really, really odd. Really, really odd. Yeah, you're right, Catherine. Yep. Things are going to get heated, I think. And it's all based on, we're just looking at some of these things, the things we're going to talk about Friday. And Catherine, I hope you'll join us if you can. We're going to be live right here on this channel. And yeah, we're just going to go line by line kind of through this document here that was posted. So I look forward to that. I look forward to going through that. And I've been making videos, got some videos on this journal. So on the Rumble channel, that'll kind of be what we're kind of focused on. There is the journal, but it's nice to do these live things. I love interacting with people like this in this live chat. YouTube just makes it kind of hard. I think that's the only issues I'm having with YouTube, but whatever. We'll definitely work through it, and we'll just keep on pushing on. But you look at some of this stuff, and you can just kind of see it's like you finally, we've been told all these negative things about David Crowley, all these bad things about David Crowley, and then here we have David Crowley's version of it from the Day One Journal. I can see why they didn't want us to get the Day One Journal, why they tried to hide it from us. I'm glad that we have it. I think this really helped clear a lot of things. It doesn't make the goons look any better. It makes them look worse. It actually shows the stuff that we've been talking about. It factually proves some of the stuff that we've been talking about for a long time, based on the other facts too from David Crowley's own post. And that really was the focus, should be the focus. It should still be the focus, right? It should not be about the people who are looking into David Crowley, which apparently some people want to make it all about. They want to make it about us, including Sean, including some of these other losers who want to make it all about us instead of making it about David Crowley and what proves him guilty and what proves that he didn't do this, right? So it's all games. And I think this person, Tony Floyd, pretty much, says it correctly. People like to play games and get territorial. With a case like this, man, we're just looking for the truth. We've been doing that. We're going to continue to do that. We will address, haters from time to time. We will address that, but it's not the real focus. We're staying focused. We know that the haters want to keep us off focus. They want us to focus on them and to focus on all of these other things when the evidence is right here. So Tony Floyd pretty much lays it out here. And I'm not going to go through it now. I really want to say that till Friday. I'm kind of teasing it up here, but you can go and you can read all of the stuff that we're going to talk about here on Friday. And I backed all this up in case anything happens to this channel. So just looking at the Day One Journal stuff, man, there is enough there that just once again, it confirms all of the facts that we know. It confirms everything, and it makes sense why the haters want to keep this stuff hidden from us, and why they want you to not look at this stuff unless they can twist it, unless they can, put it in their perspective. And that's the difference. Is we like to just give you the documents. Here are the documents. You decide what you think, whatever you want to do with it. It's here for you. And I think that's the big difference. And I think that's one of the things that separates us from them. So, Little Bear says, what does it mean Kamel is battered and bruised? So it's a figurative thing where he says here, and I'll continue the video here in a couple of minutes, but it says Kamel has been battered and bruised by a series of lessons in the past few weeks, and I'm so blinded by my own that I can't imagine to write anything down. So it's family stuff. Kamel and her family, they're having a lot of disagreements about Kamel's mom, the cancer, all of that. So yeah, that's what Catherine says. Her family's given her a lot of hard time. She spent a lot of time crying and arguing with her sister and father. It's in the Day One Journal. Yeah, it's all in the Day One Journal. So we're gonna put that up in the group files, and I'll put it up on my website so people can read it in the proper context that David Crowley intended. Reading through some of this Day One Journal stuff too, some of it is in the Sloppumentary, and you can totally tell that they've taken it out of context. They've taken his own words, taken his own stuff, and put it completely out of context to make him sound crazy. That's what crazy people do. They try to make other people sound crazy. So there you go. You have to consider the source. So I'm going to continue on a little bit with this video here because there's still some more time ahead.
Since the past few weeks, and I'm so blinded by my own that I can't manage to write anything down.
Hey, Tony. Yes,
Turned
Tony,
a dreadful job offer into a flowering opportunity. Proper family stickiness cleansed off, and Ronnie is starting out at Cypress soon. That's the school, the Cypress School. Very appropriate place for Ronnie. And to come home from school to dusty Uncle Sean and his ceaselessly hooting urchin at a home ravaging our abode, while we go out to work for it. That's pretty interesting. So at this point, I guess Sean Wright is living with them here on October 5th, or right around that time, or he's just there, hanging out there. But, for Ronnie to come home from school to dusty Uncle Sean and his ceaselessly hooching urchin, the dog, Sean's dog, at home ravaging our abode while we go out to work for it. Doesn't sound like he's too happy with Sean at that point, does it? August 9th, the Gray State guys. Here we go. Whoops. Danny is coming. I have to convince him to sign away an empire. Sean is coming with his kid, and he gets to ask me why he's not allowed to live here. What a week. Joe is coming, and that motherfucker is so frat boy stupid, so monstrously lost and transparent, and happily oblivious to his own spectacle that last week I wept for him. Last week I wept for him. Some of his words were so far from understanding that I folded my hands and wept tears for him in a moment of total clarity and commiseration for his tiny mind. Ooh, lot to, as Dan Hennon would say.
I do want to talk. I think he's talking about Joseph Seaton there. That's what it sounds like. So he's talking about Joseph Seaton, and Joseph Seaton was part of the Sloppumentary. So again, it's like all of these guys that are in Eric Nelson's A Gray State film, all battering David, all slandering him, all accusing him of a double murder suicide. And look at the way that David, read, I guess, not listen, but really read the way that David is talking about these guys. These are the guys that are in the Sloppumentary? Huh.
say a lot to unpack there. Danny is coming. So this is August 9th, the day before Ranya's birthday party on August 10th. I believe Rania was born on August 8th, 2009. Maybe August 6th. Could have that wrong. Regardless, the party is set to happen on August 10th. Coincidentally, there's really no post that I see here in the Day One Journal for August 10th, and he's busy. But this quote has really helped me try to get a better understanding of what is the real relationship like. Because if you watch the Sloppymentary, if you listen to the way Danny Mason, the way Sean, the way Joe, and the way Adam Shambauer, the way that they all talk about Joe Seaton, the way that they all talk about David, it just like came out of the blue or something, or David was distancing himself. But here we have some of the reasons why, and David is trying to get away from all of this drama, and these guys are bringing all of this drama to him, all of their personal problems to him. Well, he's really trying to focus on this Hollywood deal. That is his focus. It doesn't really seem like these other guys really are, but Danny is coming. I have to convince him to sign away an empire. Pretty interesting there. Sean is coming with his kid, and he gets to ask me why he's not allowed to live here. I mean, ridiculous. But then it gets even worse when he's talking about Joseph Seaton. Joe is coming, and he's just like, the guy just seems clueless. So bad that it's, David cried for him. And David definitely has a soft spot for Joseph Seaton. I mean, they serve together, so that's understandable. But it's pretty interesting to hear that. It's like, wow, okay, I thought they were a lot closer than that. But after reading some of this stuff in the Day One Journal, now I think the way that Sean tried to make himself seem close to David, I don't think David was. David wanted to be close to Sean, to Seaton, obviously not to Danny Mason, and to one of the Adams. I don't know if it's his lawyer or not, but it sounds like he's pretty dependent on his lawyer. And here, few more things here from August 9th. Here he says, after tomorrow we plan to retreat to summer bliss. So they're prepping for all of this. They're prepping to distance themselves away from all of these people here. It's a big hurrah, big thing with everybody coming there. And then after that, kind of looks like he's going to really distance himself from them. It says, after tomorrow we plan to retreat to summer bliss, 2 to 4 bowls each per day, slowly and lovingly tearing down the entrapments of our past lives and building fresh ones. By fall, we will be new. Very critical statement right there. By fall, we will be new. And we all know what his plans are for the fall and for everything like that. New, not dead. Take it for what it's worth. And another one from August 9th, where he says, and over all of this hangs the world spinning. Thought that any moment this movie deal could get signed and we could become upper class. Well, I found out we bought the house the day of the martial law shoot. Maybe I'll get a nice call during the party. So, bought the house during the martial. Found out we bought the house the day of the martial law shoot. That's pretty interesting. I was like, well, they bought another house, but he could be talking about the house that they have now in Apple Valley, Minnesota. But I just thought that was pretty interesting that he's waiting here, and if the deal goes through, he may consider himself upper class. And then on August 11th, things get really heated here regarding Joseph Seaton, where he says, Joe is a douchebag, as I put it, an asshole that doesn't know it's an asshole. Mom and Dad were great. Dan and Alan Sue's the only time the whole family has been together since our wedding reception in '08, and Ronnie and Sue's weren't around then. Big, pleasant affair. Well, why not? We throw a fun, non-dramatic party. So it's kind of like a recap, because there's no post for August 10th here when the party happened, but August 11th this kind of like gives you the recap of the party. So aside from Joe, it sounded like everything went pretty good. Joe is a douchebag, so I just thought that was funny. This just seems like a guy who doesn't really know. It's kind of clueless and doesn't really know his own place in reality. I don't know. I don't know the best way to describe it, but whatever it is, there's definitely the tension is mounting. The tension is growing between David and Joseph Seaton. Joseph Seaton may not even know it, but it's coming. All right, so here's a good one from September 8th. The universe may want me to destroy Danny Mason since he has given indication that he wants to stand in my way. What a fool. The garage sale is finally over, and I can recover from the madness. It was a fun time, in fact. And we got to meet many of the neighbors. Good impressions all around. Sold 5.5K worth. Wow, I sold over $5,000. Then had the idea, why didn't I try to package it as a business model with assets for sale? Could have tripled my money like a boss if I found the right investors. What a bummer of an idea to have right after selling it all off. So he sells off a lot of stuff. Now you can still see, if you look at the crime scene photos, you can still see all the stuff that David Crowley did not sell off. There's still a lot of data in those, or a lot of props, a lot of things like that he did not sell off, that is in his basement. And so he says here, anyway, Danny is my first threshold guardian. I don't even know what that means, so your guess is as good as mine. Danny is my first threshold guardian, and either I will convert him to my cause or destroy him. His next actions will decide. Now, we've heard this. This is something that David's dad in the Sloppymetry was reading this from a script. Not in the proper context, maybe. I don't know what my first threshold guardian is. It could have been edited, so David's dad could have read the whole quote, and then the Sloppymetry team just kind of edited this how they wanted to make it seem, maybe a little bit worse than it was. Whatever, I don't know, but there it is. That's the quote in full context. Context is king. Context matters. Okay, and here is what David writes on September 21st, 2001. He says, Danny is still stonewalling me on this release document. I do not care. If he wants to burn up his energy, fine. I am getting my legal ship in order, an expensive ordeal. BX is mostly gone. Mitch and I are amicable, and he signed his release, which was the big thing all along. So, Mitch is signed. There it is. It's done. Waiting to go. But Danny August Mason is still stonewalling him. All right, and here's what he says on September 21st about Kamel's family. Lots of housework to do, and Kamel is really helping out and loving it. What a treasure she is. We are working on healing her from some daddy issues that are turning up while her mother goes through cancer. The emotional cling they, Anjum and Sidra, they have on my wife is never ending. And if it weren't for poor Nalia being used as a tool for their manipulating games, it would be a joy systematically shutting down these dysfunctional relationships. It is amazing the clarity one has with a little distance. Geez, what else? Besides the fact that BX Wade is vanishing profitably, and I am in the other side of the hardest thing I have ever undertaken. So David describes the manipulation and the daddy issues that Kamel is having, issues with her father, Anjum Alam, and then with the sister Sidra Alam, regarding Kamel's mom. So pretty interesting stuff, and just a little more depth about what is going on with this family during this time. All right, and here's something from September 30th regarding being broken, since more personal stuff. Here's what he says. I think a part of me has broken a deep part that goes back to 2004 when I bottled up and knew everyone in the army I would meet would be temporary and inferior to another. Future crop of human selectees. I've been broken since then. Back from the army, but the same deep mental subset firing behavior and avoiding contact/connection. Not experiencing people in my life as being there for a purpose, but still just creatures to tolerate and get around so I can be on my way, swept to an unknown future full of light. Here is something he writes about Danny August Mason on Sunday, October 5th, 2014 at 8:47 a.m. John Wank does what I would do if I had not discovered that love is a stronger magic. Back to the magic. It's interesting he's talking about John Wank because that is Danny August Mason's character that was cut out of the 2014 script. You know, a semi-big part of the 2013 script, and we know a big part of the 2012 trailer. But at this point, it's pretty much gone. His character is gone. David is still trying to get Danny August Mason to sign away some rights, some release form, I guess, not really rights, but it's just an interesting comment where he says John Wank does what I would do if I had not discovered that love is a stronger magic. So take that for what you want.
All right, and just wanted to kind of throw this out there too because Ross is in the live chat right now. Planet X Filmworks. So make sure you go and check out that YouTube channel because they have a lot of great stuff on tons of different topics. Love to get on there, talk more about the wrestling, but he's done some great stuff on the Zodiac stuff too. So hopefully I'll have something, Ross, that I can send you. But this Sunday on I think 2 p.m. Ross, I believe that's when we're doing it on the YouTube channel Planet X Filmworks. We are going to discuss David Crowley's 2013 script. So if you have not looked at David Crowley's 2013 script, you can go to thegraystage.wordpress.com. You don't need the caps. And you can actually look at that and download that and read it for yourself. So here is the Gray State 2013 script. Read that. We're going to do a deep dive on Ross's channel last time, 2 p.m. because Pacific time this Sunday. I'm going to see if I can go to your channel here. Let's see. Planet X Filmworks. X Filmworks. And there it is. Should be the first one, pops right up. Lots of great stuff on the Zodiac. So if you've been interested in the Zodiac Killer, he's got some very, very good stuff on there. So, man, I'm so fascinated since I saw the movie with Robert Downey Jr. And of course, you know, it is a movie. I've read the books, but the Zodiac Killer, I believe there are more than one killer, more than one Zodiacs. But Ross has done some great deep dives into that, so please make sure that you check that out. Make sure that you subscribe to his channel because this Sunday we're going to go live and we are going to talk about David Crowley's 2013 script. On that same channel, you can find our discussion where we talk about David Crowley's 2014 script, and that was an awesome one. We kind of teased the 2013 one, but the way when I was chatting with Ross, the way that I described it is if you look at David Crowley's 2014 script, it's like a Tom Clancy film. If you look at the 2013 script, the 2014 script is like a Tom Clancy script. The way that the 2013 script reads, it's like a Stephen King film. Two completely different films. So I don't want to interject too much on that. I'm trying to stay kind of calm about that. But please make sure that you go in and you subscribe to his channel because that's where it's going to air. And I I don't know how long we'll go. Maybe 1 week. 1 week. Yeah, let's go for 1 week. We'll go for 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, but we'll definitely take a deep dive into that script. The 2013 script is like a paranormal venture. I don't know how to describe it too much, and I've been trying to hold back because I know a lot of people haven't had time to read it yet. But we're going to act like you have read it, and so when we talk about it Sunday, it's pretty much, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. I'm going to tell you that right now. There's going to be a lot of spoilers that we're going to have about it. So I don't know. If we find out that a lot of people that are going to tune in have not read it yet, maybe I'll keep it spoiler free. So let me know if you have not read it yet. If you have not read the 2013 script, we may do I may want to keep it more of a spoiler free type thing. But the Bohemian Grove is in there. I'll tell you that. And that was one of the things that I got really tripped out when I found out about that. There's some paranormal stuff that's in there. The police state stuff is in there. Not as much as I was expecting, really. It is more of like a spiritual or anti-spiritual journey. So, yikes. Yeah, 1 week, right, Captain? Yeah, Little Bear, I hope you're able to join us for that. Yeah, read up for the deep dive. That's right, because we're going to take a very deep dive in that one, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's just so much to cover, so much to go through, and I think what I'm going to do right now is kind of go back and if you have not seen this, if you don't want to see this, please, I'm not going to stay on too much longer, so feel free to go ahead and exit out of this stream. But this was a very important post, and what is shared here, what you're about to see, these 13 minutes, you're going to see the video that is blurred out, so the bodies on the ground or the bodies in the living room are blurred out. But this is the BCA video that Tony Floyd was able to get. He shared it in the group. We backed it up. We have it, and I want to share it with you here now. So this is not for the faint of heart. This video, if I made it 18 and up. I don't know if that was really necessary or not. A lot of the images were more disturbing than the actual video. The video just kind of gives you a good idea of what they looked at when they walked through the house, and you can see that it was dark. A few things I don't want to talk about yet about the video, but it was dark. And I guess I'll just play it here, and I'll be back in about 13 minutes and 30 seconds. right, I need to remove the end screens here so that people can see the actual can see all this. So I thought I did that. I guess I didn't do that. Sorry about that, but I will. So, but again, you can go and download these. You can download those all for yourself. Yeah, it's hard to look at. So I know Catherine, you got some views on that, on how, she says, the skull piece shows trauma, like I said in my video. Okay, great. So Catherine, that's what I was going to ask you. One of those, yeah, we'll go over all of this Friday. But that skull piece that you have, that you focus on, that shows trauma, is that one of the pieces that's in the photos? William says the decomps are all over the place, from what I can see, which is not what the narrative attempts to show. Yeah. Catherine says yes. Okay. That's good to know, because that skull piece was one of the pieces that I was looking for, to see if that was a part of what we're seeing here. Yeah, so many thoughts, so many questions here. So, Catherine, based on that, what does it look like? I mean, decomp, can you get a sense of the decomp? I mean, is the ME reports, or the autopsy reports, what they say about the decomp, is that accurate based on what we're seeing here? Or? She says, it appears to be a bit cleaned up or something, but yes, I do believe it is there. Okay, so that skull piece is cleaned up, but it is a part of that. Okay, that's very interesting. Bottom row, lower right, second from the end. Bottom row, lower right, second from the end. Yes, even the autopsy reports show early to moderate decomposition. Wow. Looks like they got some problems there. Oh boy. Okay, well, we got a lot of stuff coming up then, I guess. Thanks to this data dump from Tony. Yeah, we have Friday night, 9 p.m. right here on this channel, and then of course we'll be live again Sunday on Planet X Filmworks, and we'll be going through David Crowley's 2013 script. And you never know. If you are not subscribed to this channel, probably a good idea to be subscribed here. And if you're not on Rumble, I'll still post on the website, on my website, thegraystage.wordpress.com, so you can just quickly watch all of David's Day One Journal videos that I'm going to be making and releasing. I'll put all of those here. I tried to embed the video, but it didn't work, so all I could do is put some text and make the hyperlink, but I'm still trying to figure out a way to, without paying money, because that's what WordPress wants me to do. They want me to pay money so that you can just see the video here and click on it, similar to how YouTube works. So I'll figure that out. We'll see what the best option is there. But for right now, you can go to my website, and if you click, find videos about David Crowley here, it'll redirect you to the Rumble page that we have, to the Rumble channel that we have, or I will post all of the links to the videos, and you can just click on the link and you can watch them here. So I'll try to make it easy for you about the whole Rumble issue here. So I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 posted so far, but I will get some more posted up there. And I have a lot of videos that I'm going to be adding to the Rumble. And then eventually I'll be adding them all here. I may just add all of those. It's just one video here. I want to make it as easy for people as possible. Still trying to figure out, sometimes it's easier for people to watch a short video than to watch a long 2-hour video of everything. So we'll see. We'll see how all of that works. But if you do want to get some more thoughts on this, if you want to hear some of my thoughts on David Crowley's Day One Journal, best place to do that is at our new Rumble channel right here. So I'm going to go ahead, and my battery is not dead yet. So I'm going to play this little video here. This is a preview. We do have a podcast. Remember, we have the new podcast every month, so the first of every month. So on September 1st, we are going to cover the exceptionally cleared theory from my book, The Gray Stage. So that will be the next podcast video. I made this little preview video. It ended up being about 17 minutes, so it's not as short as, as I thought it was going to be. But I'm going to go ahead and play that here, and I will be back as long as the battery does not die. On March 14, 2015, Detectives Brian Bone, Jim Gummert, and Sean McKnight met with Dan Crowley Sr., Kate Crowley, Dan Crowley Jr., Allison Crowley, and Sidra Alam at the Apple Valley Police Station. We presented the facts of the case to the family as of that date, Detective Bone reported. No details or information were withheld. All information was discussed, and all questions were answered to the best of our abilities. The biggest problem is all of the information that the police didn't have at that time. Did they meet with the family after they had everything on October 7, 2015, when the case was ruled exceptionally cleared? Where was the resistance to the exceptionally cleared conclusion? All that stands between the baseless accusations and the people looking for answers is us. We're the only hope at getting to the truth now. Everyone else has failed to bring us the truth. Where is the truth movement here? Where are the Oath Keepers? Where are the 3 percenters? We Are Change? The Ron Paul Revolution? The next revolution will not be televised, probably because it has already been infiltrated by informants and spies and gatekeepers and traitors. For years we have been told that we are the resistance. But what exactly are we resisting? Do we recognize tyranny when we see it? Do we still believe a man is innocent until proven guilty, whether he is dead or not? Our silence is compliance, and our vigilance is irrelevant if we avoid the simple truths. Case closed? I don't think so. Unless you can prove David Crowley guilty, this case will never be closed. It's time to choose a side. A long time ago, the Gray State trailer told you you need to stand now or kneel forever. Today I am reminding you to stand now for David Crowley and his family, and keep standing or kneel forever and drown in a pool of shame. Those who panic and those who lie fade away first. Those who support getting justice for David, Kamel, and Rania Crowley will stand forever. Do not resist, in truth persist. Do not stray into the night, stand in the light. You have nothing to fear when you keep Jesus Christ near. Why would anybody rule this case exceptionally cleared? And yet on October 7, 2015, that's exactly what the Apple Valley Police Department did. With everything that they had, knowing all that they knew, and they still closed the case and tried to lead everyone to think that David Crowley was a murderer,
a child killer, a domestic abuser, someone who snapped and went crazy. One of the biggest questions that I get all the time, well, if David didn't do it, then who did? It's a fair question. I would also answer that with a question, I guess. If David did it, where's the evidence? Is one question more valid than the other? I believe so. I don't believe we have to prove somebody else did this to prove David Crowley didn't do this. I think they're two separate questions, both very important, both questions that need to be answered. But if we cannot answer the first question, which is what proves David Crowley guilty, then we have to understand that that means he's not guilty. And yes, that means someone else is. But are we to believe that if we can't find who the real killer or killers are here, then we just accept the accusations against David Crowley? That doesn't seem right to me. That doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem logical, in the words of Spock. It doesn't seem rational. It's definitely not the way that this country is supposed to work. If we're innocent until proven guilty, then we need to respect that. Law enforcement needs to respect that and to enforce that. It's a big responsibility to accuse somebody and not be able to back it up. What is it based on? What are the accusations against David Crowley based on? In the beginning, just like with David and Kamel's family, they probably were told everything that the police knew up until that point, up until March 14th, 2015. But let's take a look at what they knew. What did police know on March 14th, 2015? What could they have told David and Kamel's family at that point? Knowing that they were still waiting for the autopsy reports. They were still waiting for the BCA lab results. They were still waiting for David's Dropbox information. It wasn't even until March 24th, 2015 that Detective Brian Bone received a copy of those autopsy reports. As of April 17, 2015, Detective Bone also reported, I have still not received results from the BCA regarding fingerprints, and I have not heard from Dropbox. On April 24th, Detective Bone received and began to review the contents of David's Dropbox accounts. You want to take a guess what he found? I'll let you figure that one out. It wasn't until May 5th, 2015, that all of the Dropbox files had been gone through. Guess what evidence they found to prove David Crowley guilty? This is closing the case? They didn't receive the firearms report until June 2nd, 2015. The bloody latent print tests on the alleged murder weapon were inconclusive when they got the results back on August 5th, 2015. They went through all of the electronics. The Dakota County Electronic Crime Scene Task Force reviewed all electronic items. Guess what they found? Yet, with that conclusion of not finding anything, they just say David is guilty. Here's what Detective Bone says. Throughout this investigation, the ABPD has not discovered any information or evidence that shows anybody but David Crowley is the perpetrator of these crimes, including the killing of his wife, child, and himself. Listen to that statement. Reread that statement. Throughout this investigation, the ABPD has not discovered any information or evidence that shows anybody but David Crowley is the perpetrator of these crimes, including the killing of his wife, child, and himself. So you would expect to find maybe a list of things that the Apple Valley Police can say prove David Crowley is guilty. You would expect to see that when Tom Lydon talks to them. You would expect to see a final summary saying this is based on this ABCDEFG. This is why David Crowley is guilty. What they're really saying is because we couldn't find ABCDEFG and because we couldn't find ABCDEFG for anybody else, David Crowley is guilty. You see how twisted that sounds? See how dumb they think we are? You see how easily some people can be tricked, can be fooled, can be led blindly to believe something that is not true. It's very easy when you look at this case. It can happen to all of us. But if it happened to you, it's time to rethink your view on David Crowley, to rethink your view on this case. Choose a side and choose wisely. There will come a day when people who don't understand now will understand that David Crowley has not been proven guilty and cannot be proven guilty. If the only rebuttal is that we've been unable to prove anybody else guilty, that's an argument made by a very weak person. A strong-minded person, a wise person, would not make such an argument. A strong-minded person and a wise person would recognize if there's nothing to prove David Crowley guilty, then he's innocent. And yes, that's why many people have been looking for who did this and why. And why all of the other weird stuff surrounding it afterwards. But it all boils down to the same thing. Innocent until proven guilty. Then you start looking at how quickly people were accusing David. Even after looking at all of this information, by the time 2016 comes, everybody has chosen sides. Everyone who was able to look at the evidence, everyone who was able to look at the autopsies, to look at the DNA proof, to look at the fingerprints, the firearms. What side did you choose and why? I hope there's still many people that are on the sidelines that have not chosen a side yet, but it's time. It is really time to choose a side. Stand with us or cower forever. And we'll wait. All right, wrapping this up here, let's talk a little bit about the term exceptionally cleared. It does not mean guilty. It really doesn't. If it did, we would have a lot more. Exceptionally cleared. Now, I contacted the Apple Valley Police Department to find out what exceptionally cleared meant and got the following response. Exceptionally cleared indicates the case is satisfactorily concluded and prosecution of the suspect or suspects is not being sought. These cases may have been referred to another agency for follow-up. Victim may have withdrawn complaint, parents to handle discipline, or a verbal warning issued in minor offenses. I also asked, would this include if a suspect is deceased? Likely, yes. Are you confused yet? Are things becoming a little more clear in the midst of that confusion? Think about that. Think about where we are, why we're here, and how it really doesn't take much effort to keep understanding, to keep on this case, and to keep reminding people and letting new people know there's nothing to prove David guilty. He is innocent. Who can declare that he's not? Who can prove that he's not? The burden of proof is there. I mean, that's where it needs to be. If you're going to accuse David Crowley, you have to be able to back it up, or you just look foolish, and you have shown your hand. You've shown your true colors. Unless you're scared. Unless you're scared of something, or somebody, or some power. It doesn't make sense to me why you would assume David Crowley is guilty and stick to it. Enjoy the silence, I suppose. I don't know how you could enjoy it. Sometimes to look outward, we have to look inward. We have to look within ourselves. With a case like this, you do have to look within yourself. What type of a person do you want to be? What type of a human do you want to be? If you want to be a good person, if you want to be a decent person, an honest person, a truthful person, here's a litmus test. Here is something that is really simple to digest, to dig into. We've made it very simple. It's one question, two questions. One, is David Crowley guilty? Two, who did this? The two would go hand in hand, definitely. But, you don't have to answer one to answer the other. But being wise, thinking logically, thinking rationally, you do want to start with the accusations against David Crowley. So, the police are concluding by saying that because we couldn't find any evidence that anybody else did this, David must be guilty. The question is, did they look? And how deep did they look? How much could they have possibly looked? If within a day, within 24 hours, if not less, they are accusing David Crowley of being guilty and saying the public is not in any danger. That should raise some red flags right there. And it definitely does. So closing the case? I don't think it's closed. What do you think?
Say hi, Mommy.
Hi, Mommy.
Okay, now we're gonna do the spin, okay? Okay, let's spin. Ready? Set.
Go!
Ah, it's so spinny. Oh. You don't like it as much as last time, huh?
It's fun, Daddy.
You like it? Is it fun? Yeah?
Ah!
Oh.
Ah!
It's too spinny.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you look at David's last searches, you'll pretty much know what happened. Obviously, Well, we've looked at the last searches.
So I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube. He did research on self-help and for a possible movie script, and a whole bunch of day one journal searches.
Yeah, those the day one stuff, that's, I don't know, I mean, if you look at some of the times, it's like, there's no way to access two files at the same time. So that's kind of, the exact same second, so that's a little odd. I don't know. So they're not all like that, but there's a lot that are, it seems like it's just some type of backup for these files or something. That's the way it looks to me right now. I don't know. Still need to think a little bit deeper.
There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, and this is coming directly from the Dropbox app. And you can kind of look at, I think I'm just kind of scrolling randomly here, looking at page 231. And so there's one here that, shows the date and the time, but it's the access date, right? 1935-17. And you kind of see that 1935-22. I mean, I guess it could be scrolling too. It could be just somebody scrolling down, so that makes sense as well. There was a few that I found that looked like it was at the exact same time, but maybe I was reading it wrong. So that's why it's good to go over it over and over again. But yeah, it's kind of weird. This is what someone is accessing. Why all the day one journal stuff?
That's a good question. I guess we'll find out. Well, I don't know if we'll find out why, but
yeah, and I want to understand the conflicted copy. So if you look at the path, like I'm looking here at page 233, and there's this path, and it's ends with David Crowley's conflicted copy. So I'm not exactly sure what the conflicted copy means. Is there a different copy? Is this like a deleted copy? That's some of the stuff that I hope that maybe somebody can help us with too. So
I wonder if that's what he called it.
It could be, yeah, conflicted. Maybe that was the name of the day one journal, kind of.
Gave it a title, yeah. But
it's pretty. That's pretty interesting. So 1935-22. This one is 9. Yeah, it's probably scrolling. I mean, unless the autosave. See here, maybe here's one that I was looking at. Unless these are the same thing. So looking at page 234, there's two. If you look at the date accessed and the time, 1935-22, and then 1935-22. And that will make sense if these are the exact same thing here. And they should be. So 451. Yeah, source file. One of the source file is 450, and then the next one is 451. I don't know. Stuff like that is what kind of makes me, wonder about the whole backing up thing. But it's really interesting stuff here. But for Mason Hendricks, I think some of the stuff he was talking about, what he was really talking about, is the searches. Like I think the first 30 or 40 pages really have the searches. It seems like the rest is just like the day one journal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he was talking about David, looking at satanic verses, the Dark Lord or something like that, right? I'm gonna go to some of that stuff.
Yeah, the something about Lucifer or something like that. And it was funny because it came like right after searching for Danny August Mason's Facebook page. So maybe he was referencing that. But he also did a search for, what was that? 1 second, let me go to my messenger because I downloaded it. it's an article from Revelations, and it was the woman with the 12 stars.
Really? From Revelations? That's
Yes, women with 12 stars is rapturechrist.com woman, and that was one of the searches that he did. And then she is giving birth to the Messiah, Revelation 12:2. And she was with child. She cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. She was going to give birth to the Messiah.
jeez, the Antichrist.
So, I mean, it was just interesting. The dragon is Satan, as explained in verse 9. And it's just going through all that stuff, explaining Revelations. And it was just interesting.
So it's like a book on Revelations, or from...
It's a website.
It's a website.
And then you look at the rest of the stuff that he was looking up, and to me, it looked like it kind of reflected back to the 2013 script.
Mm-hmm.
I know I harp on that so much, but it really did. And maybe he was doing adjustments to that script and bringing in some stuff because of the TV series. And that would have been an interesting twist, just adding in the kind of whole rapture thing in Revelations. But yeah, he had several searches for Danny August Mason.
Yeah, I see one of those here from his Facebook, it looks like. He's looking at his profile.
The profile.
The Mind
And then he
Unleashed.
looked
Yeah,
at
I looked at some of that. Go ahead.
And that post, there were several of them that Danny August Mason made in December. So I don't know exactly which post he was looking at.
Oh, on the 21st?
Let me go back and I can tell you.
I mean, it gives a time. See, the thing is, it's UTC time, so I always have to remember that. You still have to adjust for that.
So he made a post. He didn't make one on December 21st, unless it's not public, or unless he took it down.
Well, I mean, this also just shows this is when David visited his Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So there is one that says irrefutable proof that Santa is Odin. And that was December 3rd, 2014. And then he has like another Odin picture for December 3rd. And then December 10th, he has something about 16 reasons Lawrence, Kansas is the best college town in America. December 12th, he has nothing like going to an audition and sounding like Kermit the Frog because I had cold. December 10th is this house is a prison on planet bullshit in the galaxy of the sex camel dick. And it's a quote, so I honestly don't know what the quote is to.
Be from a movie or something, maybe. He's known
probably
for
like the vacation, Christmas vacation one or something. Also, December 17th, he has Michael Keaton puts all other Batman actors in their places with 2 words. And then the quote is, "No, do you know why? Because I'm Batman, and I'm very secure in that."
It's true.
Then December 16th, 2 commercial shoots, a feature film shoot, and another commercial audition. My kind of week. He could have possibly been looking at that. Then December 17th, he puts a post up, and it's about the director of Bad Mother Effer. I'm not saying the whole word out loud. So, and it's a pretty bloody film.
That's all Danny
But
Mason
they-
stuff Danny Mason's posting
Mhm.
in December. Yikes.
Yes, and then there is a December 23rd post too, but there's nothing between December 17th and December 23rd.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, December 16th is when they had one of the email exchanges. So, I mean, if he was going to the messenger, it would probably it may show that, it may not, but I guess no, that wouldn't have anything to do with the profile. No, he's going to Danny Mason's profile for something, obviously. But it's just
And
the timing is weird because this is right during the whole, the whole not lawsuit, but the whole trying to get Danny Mason to sign those forms. So
Mm-hmm. And it's very possible that he saw that Danny was working and did commercial shoots and a feature film shoot and was actually working. So I don't know exactly what that means, but
I was looking
why?
at this one on page 28 here from David Searches, and this one is pretty interesting. Cracking Code, Fooling Nature, Oscar winner approach screenwriting. Cracking the Code and Fooling Nature, and Oscar winner's approach to screenwriting, which I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, again, this all just kind of shows, David Moore planning for the future, planning for getting ready for his fame and fortune, which it really sounds like he felt like it was coming. All of this stuff. There's no posts in here that make it seem like, the script is dead, everything is dead. There's nothing in here like that so far, right?
Yeah.
Nothing I can find, I mean, nothing like how do you deal with failure of having your script turned down or something. It's just a lot of this stuff just all looks like he's on his way out. And Craigslist too. He's on Craigslist a lot, looking for sale silver coin. So I wonder if he's selling stuff. And we know about the Craigslist killers and all that stuff. That's some pretty crazy stuff. But it's always been curious. Well, there's very few reasons you would let somebody in your home. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a car sale could be one. Somebody's stranded, somebody, is a friend or something like that who really needs help, got kicked out of their house or something like that. But another one could be if you're making a sale, right? If you're making some type of a sale. I mean, it's possible you can meet anywhere, I suppose. I really don't know how Craigslist works, but so I was just wondering if he was looking at buying or selling this silver coin. And it's not really sure because it's just kind of, I don't know. I can't really say for sure either way. But I just thought there's a lot of Craigslist stuff on here, it looks like, too. And
Well, the police talked about silver or gold coins, but I don't think that they mentioned silver.
oh, that's
And
interesting.
he's looking at a whole bunch of silver stuff on here.
We should go back through the photos in the basement because if there's silver, it may be down there. Of course, anybody could have broken or just walked in through the rear slider and taken the silver if they wanted, I suppose.
That 500-ounce box silver, that's super duper expensive. I mean, I buy silver. I know the prices.
I wonder how much that would be. Yeah, because that's.
Well, it depends on the day. Like today, it's at 23 something.
So we would
I
have
don't
to
know what
go
it was
back.
back then.
There's probably websites where you can go back and kind of see, okay, what was the price? I mean, geez, I should know. I was probably buying silver then too. I haven't bought any in a while, but I remember I was definitely between 2012 and 2015. Yeah, I was kind of into the whole silver thing. Couldn't get into the gold. It was just way too much. But
yeah, I do have some, but it's just small pieces. So we're looking at the highest. Okay, let's do 16.
Monster box. Wow. Yeah, that is big.
Yeah, it's a really huge box of silver, and
See,
500 ounces. That's a lot.
yeah, what's really cool about this document is that it has the URL, so we can really go and probably find out if he's selling or buying. You know, we can definitely find out if he's selling. If he's not selling, then he's thinking about buying. But either this is his thing, or and you know what? It says DT. No, it says CLT, not DT. Yeah, I'd be curious. We could.
That's about.
Go ahead.
Oh, that was $8,000 worth back in 2014.
Okay, that's a good chunk of change there. So I wonder if he's thinking about buying. There would be some withdrawals or some transactions, something like that you'd see, right?
light the fire. You place the flowers in the vase that you bought today. Staring at the fire for hours and hours while I listen to you play your love songs all night long for me, only for me. Come to me now and rest your head for just 5 minutes. Everything is done. Such a cozy room. The windows are illuminated by the evening sunshine through them. Fiery gems for you, only for you. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you. And la 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 la. Very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you. And I'll light the fire while you place the flowers in the vase that you bought today.
how people wake up to liberty, and that is the term we all use, right? Wake up, because these things go on all around us all the time, and most people know about everything. Any one of these issues, you ask anyone, they've heard about it to some degree, but it requires sort of an awakening context by which they can establish the difference between that reality and the one that they live in. So for me, I was in the military from 2004 to 2009. I was stop lost for 15 months. I was deployed illegally as a civilian for a while. So I know what it's like to be a number on a page, and I've seen what our military is capable of when it thinks it's peacekeeping. I've seen the division between the military being used as a blunt instrument of foreign policy, as it should, and being a domestic police force, which it shouldn't. And so I have seen the context. I've seen the contrasts between one reality and the other. And basically, it was my military experience that helped me to decide and value liberty. I mean, liberty is a real thing, and it's being threatened, and it's not defined by our creature comforts. There's some other thing that goes on, and it's about freedom, really. And are we free? And once you have that context by which to describe what I call the gray state, that's what the gray state is, then you can begin to wake up to your reality and say, hey, this stuff isn't right.
May the good Lord be with you down every road you roam, and may sunshine and happiness surround you when you're far from home, and may you grow to be proud, dignified and true, and do unto others as you'd have done to you. Be courageous and be brave, and in my heart you'll always stay forever young, forever young. May good fortune be with you, may your guiding light be strong. Build a stairway to heaven with a prince or a vagabond, and may you never love in vain, and in my heart you'll always remain forever young, forever young,
opens their eyes to this material has that month or so when they're just afraid, and they go outside and they're like, it's going to happen tomorrow. Look at all these fools. They don't know what's coming. And it's like, you're just afraid of everything. I got over that like everyone else does, and I realized, well, there's some time at least. And so I was able to, bury myself in the film effort and really try to craft that narrative out of the mess that I was researching.
Be hoping that I served you well, for all the wisdom of a lifetime no one can ever tell. But whatever road you choose, I'm right behind you, win or lose, forever young.
Forever young.
Now, as far as what scares me about it, well, with what is coming, you and I are aware of this, with what is coming down the pipe, yeah, we are all going to face some very terrifying shit in the next maybe even couple months. Who knows? I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell you that. But something is coming. And at the very least, we all have to meet our own demise someday anyway. That's something to be scared of, or maybe not. Maybe we can just achieve a sort of spiritual maturity in which we can face our own deaths, because in the end, that's the worst they can do to us. The thing that scares me about Gray State is that may not be the worst thing they can do to you, is kill you. So that's where Gray State has taken me down that dark road. Death is not the worst thing. You know, the end of the revolution, it's not the worst thing. I mean, there are deeper things to you than your body. The Gray State is not by any means like a Christian film, but it is spiritual. Yeah. So defining the resistance and defining conflicts and defining how you will defend your liberty and your freedom and what that means. What am I as an intelligent, sentient being in the world? That's what kind of scares me, because they can take more than your life. I think everyone's got a vision about how they can best tell their own stories. And I think with today's technology, that's utterly possible. I mean, that's entirely possible. Anyone can basically pick up a camera and make their first film, get noticed for the quality of the storytelling, and move on from there, getting funding and getting attention from here and there. It's a ladder for sure, because you're not starting out in Hollywood with $1 million. It doesn't work that way. So libertarian filmmakers, you'll find yourself at odds with society. My trailer has done awesome on the national scale. Locally, everyone is used to it. Everyone's used to me. They're tired of my politics. I don't know what it is, but it's been largely ignored. That's because, to the large extent, we know that the mainstream media has a liberal bias. They're not willing to even acknowledge these ideas. So it will be a challenge for young libertarian filmmakers trying to make their mark in film. But it's not like a dead end by any means. There's always hope, because, as Dr. Ron Paul says, freedom is popular. And so there's a large audience of untapped resources, of an untapped audience who are willing to watch your projects. If this film can actually get made, yeah, that's a strike. I mean, that's a victory for the liberty movement, because you know that I'm going to put in some liberty-minded ideals into the film. Now, it's a concept trailer, so we need money. Basically, it comes down to begging for pennies, but that's the way it's got to be, because no Hollywood studio is going to back this film. So it's got to come from grassroots, spreading the word. Hey, check out this trailer. Share it on Facebook. Have them share it on Facebook. Share it in public forums. Talk about it. Check out our website, because we're running a crowdfunding campaign. If 100 people see the trailer, one of those people might donate $5. So it's Indiegogo.com/Gray State Movie. That's where we're running the campaign. We're offering some T-shirts. We're offering posters, signed 8x10, signed posters, a lot of stuff from the film itself. A lot of really cool things that we're offering in exchange for some of your contributions. And that's how we're going to start funding this film. And then eventually it will go off and we'll get some major investing, maybe get backed by a studio or two. I don't know. That might happen. We might get the couple $1 million that we need to actually produce the film, and it might actually happen within the next 2 years. So definitely support the project any way you can, either through financial contributions or just sharing the trailer. That's really all we need right now, is just share that trailer, get it seen.
of walking down my street. Don't come around here no more. What are you expecting me? Don't come around here no more. And what are you looking for? Hey! Don't come around here no more.
Murder at 1051 Ramsdale Drive. What happened to David Crowley, his wife, and his daughter? If this was truly a double murder-suicide, why did investigators fail to prove David Crowley guilty? Where is the evidence David Crowley killed his wife and daughter? Where is the evidence David Crowley killed himself? Within 24 hours of finding the bodies of David Kamel and Rania Crowley, the Apple Valley Police Department were treating the incident as a double murder-suicide. Authorities cannot prove David wrote Allahu Akbar in his wife's blood on the living room wall. Authorities cannot prove David wrote I have loved you all with all of my heart on a laptop in the kitchen. Authorities cannot prove David wrote Open the Rise most recent version, Submit to Allah Now on a notepad in his office bedroom. Authorities cannot prove the dog trapped inside the house ate David's right hand, both of Kamel's hands, and their daughter's right arm, since dog feces tests were never done. Authorities did not know about a bullet that rolled out of a living room carpet until they were notified by the cleaning company 2 days after the bodies were found. That bullet would later be tied to Rania Crowley. Authorities did not see the bullet hole in the living room ceiling or the bullet in the attic above until they questioned David's friend a month after the bodies were found. Authorities did not find a motive to support their accusations against David Crowley. Authorities did not find David's blood on any of the bullets at the crime scene. Authorities do not know when David Kamel and Rania Crowley died. What we know for sure is that David Crowley has not been proven guilty. A simple truth. It really is this simple. Either you believe David Crowley is innocent or you believe he is guilty. If you believe David Crowley is guilty, you are wrong. If you believe David Crowley is innocent, you are right. It really is that simple. A United States Army veteran is dead. His wife and his 5-year-old daughter are dead. A thorough investigation would only conclude with authorities admitting they lacked evidence to support their accusations. If authorities were to admit the case remains unsolved, they would also have to admit.
Hello and welcome to episode number 19 on the podcast for the book The Gray Stage, written by Greg Fernandez Jr. Today we're going to cover the chapter Closing the Case, and for those following along in the book, we'll be covering pages 83 and 84 today. On the show with us, it's myself, Dan Hennon. We have Greg Fernandez Jr. on the show, and also Sophia. Well, this should be a good one. We've got a couple pages that should take the majority of the episode here to review on this chapter. It's chapter 10, called Closing the Case. And so what we'll do, like the other episodes, I will go through and read several paragraphs, and we will talk and discuss them, and then move forward. And should have some good, interesting stuff here on today's show. Anything before we get started, guys?
I would say the only thing for me is, right now it's like this is getting to the case where everything is kind of coming to a close. We've been asking a lot of questions, been waiting and waiting and waiting, and this is supposed to be the point where we finally get some resolution to this case. That's what we were hoping for. So that's what I was hoping to get from this. So let's see how that goes, I guess.
Yes, yeah. Very interesting, very interesting. And so, once again, the murders, the bodies were found January 17th, 2015. And as we start here, we're a couple months in, and the case is pretty much closed. They're just waiting for things to come in here. But we'll see what contrast that is to what really what was going on at this time. It's very different than what we're hearing here. Here is the chapter, Closing the Case. It starts off, on March 14th, 2015, detectives Brian Bone, Jim Gummert, and Sean McKnight met with Dan Crowley Sr., Kate Crowley, Dan Crowley Jr., Allison Crowley, and Sidra Alam at the Apple Valley Police Station. We presented the facts of the case to the family as of that time, Detective Bone reported. Quote, no details or information were withheld. All information was discussed, and all questions were answered to the best of our abilities, end quote. At that time, investigators were still waiting for the autopsy reports, the BCA lab results, and the contents of David's Dropbox account. It wasn't until March 24th, 2015, that Detective Brian Bone received a copy of the autopsy report. As of April 17th, 2015, Detective Bone reported, quote, I have still not received results from the BCA regarding fingerprints, and I have not heard from Dropbox, end quote. Should I stop there and discuss?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot to cover there. I mean, because it's very good that on March 14th that they're meeting with David's family, with Kamel's sister. But, they say, we presented the facts of the case as of that time, but there really were no facts of the case as of that time, other than what they missed, 2 bullets and a bullet hole that they actually missed. I mean, I hope they told them about those facts. I hope they told them about the whole blood writing. This may have been the first time that the family is learning about that. Possibly. I'm not really sure. I don't know if we know, and I should have double-checked on this one, when they meet with all of them, the way that it reads, I had thought that they met with Dan Crowley Sr., Dan Crowley Jr., Allison, Kate, and Sidra all at the same time, right? That's kind of the way that the police report reads.
Yes.
From what I know, so that's the way that I took it. But it's like, I mean, okay, first of all, is that the first? Obviously, they've been talking on the phone. We talked about, all the back on January 19th, 2015, the police did speak with everybody. They've spoken with everybody by that time. This is the first time that they're meeting them in person, but they don't really have much yet. So it's like, what are they telling them? What are they telling them? Hey, David is guilty because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because they don't have A, B, C, D, E, F, G at this point. They're still waiting for all of this stuff here that we just talked about. They have nothing.
Greg, would it be fair to say on that quote where it says, we got everyone together and we presented the facts of the case, would it be better if he would have said, we presented the details of the case to the family of what we know? Is it the word facts? Here is what I'm struggling with, is because you go on to say then that the big chunks of the case that were facts are related aren't even in yet. And so what facts are they talking about? And maybe he should have said, we just prepared, we just presented the details of what we know at that time. But I like how you laid it out that, remember, at this time, they were still waiting on a variety of reports, results, contents of the online Dropbox, all these things that they did not even have in their possession, much less review them to be able to make a statement after reviewing them on this investigation. So they got them all together, but just kind of went over the details. Now, in part, do you think that may have been that March 14th date that they talked about the Muslim angle, because the Alam family had expressed to police to keep that quiet and out of the public? Was that discussed for the first time to the Crowley family on this date, or did they know all about that as well?
I don't think that they knew about it until this time. When I spoke with Kamel's sister, it sounded like they didn't really know about a lot of this stuff. Now, maybe it's possible that they did. I know that they did not tell the family, right after the bodies were found. They definitely waited days, if not months, if not weeks, if not months, whatever. They did not tell them that had happened, that there was all of this angle, the blood writing and all of that stuff. So that was what the whole Quran. I know that they gave the Quran to Kamel's sister on March 14th. She kind of read through it, and that's where they got the whole prayer, what is this? Obviously, it's stuff they could have figured out. They didn't need her to figure out what page the Quran was actually open to, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Kamel's sister was able to verify that was Kamel's Quran, and maybe give them some more details about that. But that was kind of my understanding, is that this is really the first time that the family is really learning about that. Hopefully that's wrong. Hopefully that happened on January 19th is when that should have happened, because the cops spoke with everybody from the family on that date. So by January 19th, 2015, the family should have known about the whole Quran, the whole Muslim angle, basically, the whole blood writing and all of that stuff. So.
And the other thing I'd like to get through for the listeners that may or may not be familiar, Sidra Alam lives in Texas, outside of Waco, with her parents. And this is the first time that she or any member of the Alam family comes up to Minnesota to actually be there in person since the deaths, correct? And this is almost 2 months later.
Right.
Now, the mother was receiving help for her cancer treatments and didn't even know of the killings potentially at this point. The father was spending all his time with the mother in hospice and at the hospital, and didn't have time. And so they kind of gave it to Sidra to take over, come on up to Minnesota, fly up, attend this meeting. And then on the other side, you've got Dan Crowley Sr., the dad of David, and Kate Crowley. Remember, these two were divorced, both living in Owatonna, Minnesota, which is about a 45-minute drive south, but they were divorced, had to come together and do this. And then they also had the meeting with David's brother, Dan Jr., and David's sister, Allison. So I think before this time, there was lots of phone calls back and forth, getting everyone up to date. But this was a nice chance for a sit-down with everyone in person, face-to-face, with these three law enforcement officials, and kind of get everyone up to speed, kind of give a level set for everybody so they knew what was up. Is that your take on this as well, Sophia?
I believe so. I mean, as far as we know of, Sidra hadn't been up there until this date. Then we know that they had sat down and met with the family a few days after the bodies were found, but they hadn't met with Sidra. They had only been speaking with her through the telephone. And so I'm guessing lots of phone calls went between the families and trying to make arrangements and stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the strangest things here is that by this time, by March 14th, 2015, at least publicly, both sides of Kamel's family and of David's family are both acting like David is guilty. And like we just talked about, at this point, they don't really have anything yet. So that was another weird thing. It's like, are they just very trusting to what the cops are saying? Are they very sheltered and not really understanding that there really hasn't been anything yet? Are they told not to dig? I mean, why do we have so many people, including Kamel's family and David's family, and then all of these goons and all these people that claim to be David's friends? Why are they all saying that David is guilty when, as we've just pointed out, they don't have anything back yet? So that's my question. We also have Stephen here joining us too.
Oh, hey, guys! I'm sorry I was late. I've been busy. How you doing? I'm listening in. Yeah, there's agendas. The police are intimidating to most people. Even myself, as a former cop, I don't like talking to cops because it is intimidating. It's we used to look for always the bad things, but also what's going on there. People were directed.
Yeah, so everyone was, agreeing with the official narrative, basically walking lockstep with what the police were saying, whether it was the news, the media, the reports we saw in the online articles about this case, the justice page, the folks there was, there's only a handful of us that were, saying that something doesn't add up here. But, we kept getting that backlash from those folks who were saying, why would you doubt the police? You think there's some kind of a cover-up? Or why are you thinking that way? Are you guys conspiracy theorists? Things like that. That's some of the backlash that we got from the normal folks that just joined the page. Over and above the Gray State guys that were pushing to make sure that everyone did believe a certain narrative, rather than just say, "Hey, come to your own conclusion." They were demanding that we are nut jobs, and you have got to believe the police version. So this is 2 months in, and you're right. Everyone here gets a chance to meet. They all sit down, they go through, and they kind of say, "Here's what happened. Here's what happened." But as Greg points out, there's 5 or 6 things here that hadn't even come. None of the testing had come back. So it raises the antenna.
And that's what I find so interesting about this case is that the friends immediately believe the worst in David. And are they convincing the family to believe that immediately? Or was it the police? I mean, we hear nothing from the family. There's no interviews, nothing. The only time we hear anything is from when they are in the documentary, and that's only David's side of the family. So we have no idea what they're thinking at this moment, and if they immediately believe the worst, or if they had to be convinced. Everything's such a mystery when it comes to this case and the families. And it would be nice to know if they had to be convinced or if they were just willing to believe the worst. I mean, it would be sad if that's what happened.
Yeah, one of the things I mentioned in the first article that I wrote, and this was like 9 months later after the killings, bodies were found, is I said it was surprising that there wasn't a statement released from the family, an interview, a press release, a conference, here's the family coming together and it's this awful thing, and here's our thoughts, and here's what we would like the public to do. Nothing came out. So everyone was confused because there were no answers, and the only answers we had was just some, just details of the case, and then assumptions of what happened, and then it dropped off. There was nothing in the media. Weeks after this happened. Now we're talking two months later. This had already been down the memory hole here locally in the state of Minnesota. No one was talking about this case at this point. It dropped right off the radar altogether. So like I said, none of these results were back. The contents, the Dropbox, and so the investigation really hadn't started yet. The basic cursory things that they saw were all took place, and of course you're going to look at a scene like that and assume various things like they did. But it sounds once again that they had already their minds made up, and they were waiting for these reports to come in just as a formality to be able to close down the case. Is how I took it. They weren't waiting to say, "Hey, let's dig into this and let's really find out what was going on." Their comments were, "Well, when those reports come in, we'll review them and add them to the file, and it's not going to change anything, but we have to go through a checklist to complete everything." So very interesting.
Don't you think that they would have reviewed those files and said, "Hey, things aren't adding up to our official narrative"? Or did they just look at it, say, "Yep, we received it," and stuck it into the database?
Well, I think they would have reviewed it. But it may have been just a cursory look at it. Maybe Stephen can answer a little more on this too, but I don't think they dug in like what we did and analyzed every page of every single document and then started cross-referencing and finding out that things didn't match relating to phone records, bills like that, text records, and the cross-referencing of where people were when they said things, what they were doing, and you find out later that these the phone records and such didn't match up. In fact, they were wrong. And so I know for a fact that none of that was cross-referenced at all. We were the only ones to do that section, to that piece.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. And let me answer that. I'll digress, just going back a step on that last thing you were going on. There's three things with law enforcement. It's, laziness, experience, and they don't have that kind of experience in this case, or an agenda inside or outside. As a PI, and I'm working cases now where we do find things like that, so it's one of those three. But going back to digress a little bit with the family, and dealing with the Carringtons, the Yosemite case, and then also I dealt with Chandra Levy's case for a short time, is that unless the family is guided, almost you need a public relations person in a big case to guide you and say, come forward. And we don't believe the police agenda, and we don't believe our son did this savage, suicide murder thing. And so I've seen that where Mr. Carrington had to have the Levys when Chandra was murdered in D.C. And I remember meeting with the Levys in Modesto, and he told Carrington has told him, you have to get out there and get in front of the camera. And so, they believe the agenda or not, but, if they didn't, they should have stood up there and go, our son didn't do this,
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, it's a kind of and they do believe the cops, and they trust the cops, and they should trust the cops. But, this situation, no, absolutely not. This thing's terrible.
Well, Stephen,
go ahead.
Just one quick thing. For Stephen's book, that when I was reading your book, Stephen, that was one of the things that I was looking at. I was like, well, there's a big difference in the way that the families in the case that you were covering in your book. There's a big difference in the way that the families were as opposed to this. And I know later on we're going to take a deeper dive into some of those differences and stuff, but there was a lot of things like that really stuck out to me. It's like, wow, the family was not acting, I don't know. Well,
I remember Mr. Carrington met with Mr. Levy, and Mr. Carrington told me he went over to the house when this big case hit for the Levy family, and he said, "Man, get up." He was crying. He's a Jewish man. He was just totally in mourning for his daughter. And Mr. Carrington really, had to stand him up. And he's like, "Hey, man, this is a big thing. You have to, revenge this, and for the sake of your daughter, and blah blah blah, and whatever you need." And so it didn't happen in vain. And it took Mr. Carrington to stand him up. I've seen these people in the most tragic situations be strong, in which I would have cashed it in myself, maybe, who knows. So you're right, Greg. You know, and I think you guys are getting at that with David's family. Maybe, you know what? Come on, there's got to be some suspicion. Even the brother. I mean, somebody to step up or say something on behalf of David.
And they still could. They still could at any time.
Oh, sure.
They can help us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that, you know what, if it comes to people getting involved in things we've talked about, that they feel secure, yeah, they might come forward, maybe, you know.
Yeah, there was no vigil held or an announcement of the memorial service or things we can do. What can the public do? There was no coming together of the family, and I think that also lends to the fact that they weren't as close as what many say. This is Dan and Kate now, the divorced parents of David. This I think leads one to go down that road too. That things weren't all on the up and up, or good. Honky-dory, I should say, between the two. Of course, they got along, but it kind of exposed the fact that they didn't come together and do a joint press conference, a joint release, something, that you usually get the crying parents in front of the microphone kind of a thing, and asking for the, support and come forward and, do a vigil or something. There was nothing like that.
What about short memorials, crosses, flowers, things like that on the front lawn? How much of that was there? For like a child or anything, Nothing.
No, there was nothing. There was someone set a teddy bear or some flowers on the front steps, but this is a little 5-year-old girl that was killed, usually in Minnesota.
Oh,
here. That's a big thing. There's a outpouring of support. The town kind of shuts down. They rope it off, and they have a memorial. There's candles, vigils. There's things, people talking about memories, standing in the front yard. And there's always a big gathering of people. Here was very quiet, and nothing happened, nothing was said, nothing was mentioned. And the crime scene tape was taken down, and it was opened up again, and the house, and I don't think there was many, people were driving by, I think, looking, the neighbors said, at the house and at the home, but there was no big outpouring of, support from family, neighbors, and everything else, because we had this awkward murder-suicide. Sure. Who are you going to support? What do you, there could have been something for Rania, because she's obviously the victim in this case.
Oh, yeah.
So there was nothing even for her.
Yeah.
Stuffed animals,
Yep. No, and nothing interviewing other, families of kids her age, or, this is terrible. We knew the child went to, kindergarten with our kid. Dan, it's
nothing
right. It's totally right on it.
At her kindergarten school, I don't think did anything.
That's what I mean. This thing
it was very odd to begin with.
You know what? Yeah, you're principal of the school she went to. You don't think you're going to do something? Bret Hart with the Marshall case, he did a big thing, right, Greg? Dan, you guys know about that. I mean,
the football field, that big thing. Release all these balloons and.
Oh my God! You saw it.
They had a cat
run. The whole thing, man. You know what? Yep, they did. And see, you guys are right on. It's just, and it's the same sad kind of case. There's children that have been killed. And why? And this is America. This is not, somewhere else. This is how we do it here.
And the other thing, Greg, I think that
Dan, you were there when you were at something, and you saw that they were claiming that Rania was a victim of domestic abuse or something, or a victim of domestic violence.
Domestic violence. It was an event to help raise awareness for domestic violence, and they showed a slideshow at the end of the presentation of all the various children in the that passed away or were killed that year, in that calendar year, I think 2015. At the very beginning, they went in chronological order, is where we saw the Rania and Kamel, and it showed a big photo of victims of domestic abuse. And that's when I talked to the presentation person after the fact, just to say, that case isn't over yet. We don't know what happened. You can't really claim it was domestic abuse. It could have been, certainly could have been, but not enough to include in a presentation like that as an official statement, because that's what people think. That's one more thing ingraining in people's minds. They're solidifying it, and I took exception to that, because it certainly was not a domestic abuse case, for God's sakes. Greg, the last thing I was going to say before I move on is, it gets here to the point where you were emailing and I think calling, asking for updates from these guys, Detective Bone or whatnot, and they're getting back to you saying, we don't have it, we'll get it We'll let you know when we get it. Did it almost seem like that it was an inconvenience to them that you kept kind of knocking on the door, asking for things, and they were thinking like, what's all the hurry? What's all the rush about all this? There's nothing here in this case, so why are people interested? Especially this guy named Greg. He keeps contacting us. Did you ever get that feeling that they're trying to just placate you and get this stuff in so they can kind of check, get you off their list as well as getting the reports closed and finalized? Or were they actually, did you get a sense that they were, excited to get it as well, to dive in and take a look at it? Or was it more of, let's get this report so these freaks stop contacting us? How did that feel?
That's a great question. I got the sense at that point, because I had asked them, once the case is closed, will you give us some type of statement? Will you give us something? And since Gummert said yes, I was very hopeful. And I was actually very, very, very hopeful that they would prove David Crowley guilty. And so that's what I was hoping for. That's all that I wanted. It's all that I was asking for. Hey,
because you at the same time was looking for closure. Yeah, because up until then there was no closure on any of this. So you were excited for it as well. And like you said, in either direction, if they had proof that David did it, I want to see that, because then we can shut our page down, shut down the justice group, and move on with our lives. We were also looking for that evidence. And so when that never came, and then we did get the evidence, and it was not what they said, that's why we're still here 6 years ago. All right, should I continue with the next paragraph?
Yeah, please.
All right, so then it says, on April 24th, Detective Bone received and began to review the contents of David's Dropbox account. Now, this is an online cloud storage, for those not familiar with it. He says, I started to review the data contained on the Dropbox flash drive, wrote Detective Bone. The data appears similar to some of the data that Detective Klokonos has found when reviewing the contents of the Crowley's phones, tablets, and computers. And so what this alludes to here, I think, to summarize for the listeners, is they got the access from Dropbox to get David's info. They downloaded it to a USB jump drive and mailed it to the Apple Valley Police Department. Is that correct, Stephen? And so, but it was April 24th before he actually physically received that in the mail. Is that how it goes?
I believe so.
So, okay, so they got it, and they start reviewing it there, and he said by quick looking at it, it appears to be similar to some of the stuff that they found when, dealing with the other things. And so that was very similar. Then it says, by May 5th, Detective Bone had fully reviewed the Dropbox files. He says, the information I found on the USB drive was old data containing information about David Crowley's businesses and the projects he was working on. I did not, quote, I did not find anything of pertinent value to this case on these files, end quote. Anything there to review?
They found
what does he mean by this case? I mean, does he look at this case as a suicide, homicide, or homicide, or I mean, what was he looking at that would have sparked his interest in another direction? He might have been.
If they would have found, files on maybe unfaithful marriage or something, files in there that he was cheating or she was cheating, or files in there saying, you know what, my businesses aren't going too well. I'm thinking of ending it all. Suicidal type messages in there, and I think that's the kind of thing they were looking for. What kind of motive? And he just saw probably tons and tons of Gray State files and photos and pictures and family-related stuff. And business-related stuff, just normal things is what he found.
Get a search. Get all the searches, too, Get the searches. Get the URLs as many as you can. History, if he's cleaning it up with CC Cleaner. Get custodial records. Google. Yeah. They got to release stuff from certain cases and whatever it is and see what he was searching for. I mean, most people that are going to do something as radical, which he didn't do, but if he was to do it, would be they look stuff up. Like the gals that poisoned the old man, they were looking up how much cyanide do I need. There's something there. They don't go to the library anymore. So I mean, searches are huge. I would have looked at the searches almost. I would have had somebody look at the searches totally. Something there. I mean, whatever.
And that I think they would have done with they had the laptop, so that would have been given to the Dakota County Electronic Crimes Task Force, right, to be able to do that. And that also would have been Klokonos who was handling that. So he's saying basically here the files that he's looking at from this jump drive were very similar to what they found on the laptop. And with those two things combined, they found really nothing that stuck out regarding anything. Motive.
Right.
I think it looks like the result was they just found what a normal young father running a business would have on his laptop, on his online cloud storage. You know, it was nothing jumped out. And so now the next paragraph, it gets to be interesting.
Let me say one thing, Dan.
Yeah, go ahead.
The way that Stephen, the way that you phrase us, where you're talking about this case, that's something I haven't really thought of too much, because yes, at this point, this case is not about whether David Crowley did it or not. This case is about looking for anything that would help them show that David Crowley did this, right? So when they say that they didn't find anything pertinent value to this case, if they were still open to the question of David didn't do this, that would be all this would be pertinent to this case.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
You kind of reverse directions a little bit, you know, but don't totally go off the map and say, well, there's going to be something that just sparks. I don't know, you know, and it's not going to be like, oh, hey, how do you kill yourself and your family? And it's Googled 4 times last year. You know, it doesn't work that way. You know, it's other things like that. But, you know, I mean, we know that he didn't do it, and it's just, I mean, there's nothing more I can say about that at this time.
But they're also looking for things that would substantiate and beef up their own narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not find anything to beef up their own narrative. So basically nothing pertinent.
Plausible deniability, and I mean that stretches it all the way across for them. You know, we don't see it, smell it, hear it. It ain't there. You know, we have no witness. You know, and the fact is that after learning this today about no memorials on the lawn and everything else, and there's no public reactions or fundraisers or vigils, it just tells me more. I mean, this thing is, you know, totally controlled. I mean, you know, listen, Danny Mason and all these guys, or whoever we think, or whoever's involved, we don't know who's involved, but the guys that seem to stick out to me personally, I'm saying this myself, is that they got away with everything else, going in the house, everything else. Nobody knows about it. The media's not covering it. The family's not questioning it. It's a lot bigger than those guys, or whomever went in there.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. The very next paragraph is where the tide turns a little bit. He says, quote, "I did locate a journal," Detective Bone continued, "which appears to be authored by David. The latest dated journal was dated September 10th, 2014 at 21:07 hours. After looking through the journal entries, Detective Bone, quote, "did not find any indications of what may have led to this incident." And he continues and says, "As of this time," Detective Bone concluded on May 5th, 2015, "I do not have any information about what may have led to David shooting Kamel and Rania and then committing suicide." Detective Klokonos still has the computer forensics that need to be completed as part of this investigation. The case will remain active until all computers, phones, hard drives are able to be processed for potential evidence of what caused this incident to happen, end quote. Now, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
You want to start with this one, Stephen or Sophia?
Once again, you know, there's no proof. There's nothing backing up their motive and their official narrative. And so I'm just baffled at the fact that they can still continue to say that it was a murder-suicide. You know, everything that they had thought in the beginning, like that it was a financial reason for David to commit murder-suicide. Well, they got the finances back, and there was no proof of that. And then they thought, well, it was drugs. And they get the talk screen back, and there's no proof of that. You know, everything's being knocked out. But yet they continue to stick with their official narrative.
Exactly. It's all about the very, very fuzzy. You can't find it. There's no motive from David doing this. The motive is coming from somewhere else.
Correct.
Yeah,
and
these journals, right? These journals were supposed to give us something, and there's nothing in any of these journals.
Yeah.
This is the journal that they're mentioning. If they're mentioning it, then it's pertinent to their case. But they once again, nothing in there. I mean, that was a big thing because we had heard about journals and, you know. There's supposed to be stuff in these journals that made David Crowley look guilty. So we have some major problems here when they say that they located this journal. The journal ended on September 10th, 2014. It's just not relevant. Any questions or anything, any accusations regarding the journal, any journals or anything like that, to me just don't seem relevant to this case at that point.
Now, I could see a journal or a diary or something leading up to the acts of a person that's suicidal. Yes, those previous days leading up to it could tell a lot about their mindset. Even a week or two. This is for months almost.
Well, if you watch the Sloppymentary, they make it sound like the journals ended on December 24th, right before, and then David killed everybody. But that's not true. You know,
David's father said that on the documentary. The very last entry was Christmas morning or Christmas Eve morning or something, and so this is completely different from what they say here, using the actual date and timestamp. And so once again, there's more discrepancies in
that was
the journals.
Literally a script, because he even flipped it over after reading that last part, and he was like, "Oh, there's nothing else."
Yeah, if there was anything in these journals, the cops would have used this to try to prove their case. They would have made a big deal about it.
They would have said, "Here's the smoking gun. Here's our answer. Case closed. Done deal."